Now we're just strangers again. Ain't even my friend. Not how I want it to end. Can we just pretend?
The waters of Ocearis churned with tension as Kamari and Malik faced the creature. It was unlike anything they had encountered before. A towering amalgam of coral and sinew, with glowing red eyes that pierced through the gloom. Its jagged body pulsated with an eerie bioluminescence, casting distorted shadows on the rocky ocean floor. The beast's guttural growl sent shockwaves through the water, vibrating in their chests like an unspoken warning. Kamari's hands hovered at his sides, trembling slightly. The resonance within him, the sound that had always been a part of his core, felt distant, as though muffled by the oppressive weight of the ocean. He inhaled deeply, trying to focus. "Stick to the plan," Malik said, his voice cutting through the tension. He stood a few feet ahead, his posture rigid, the faint glow of his light powers shimmering across his golden-trimmed armor. His eyes flicked back to Kamari for a brief moment. "Don't get reckless," Kamari scowled. "I know what I'm doing, Malik." Before Malik could respond, the beast lunged with terrifying speed. Its claws sliced through the water, aimed directly at Malik. Kamari reacted instinctively, throwing his hands forward and releasing a concussive wave of sound. The blast rippled through the water, colliding with the beast and sending it reeling back. "Got it!" Kamari said, a hint of satisfaction creeping into his voice. But the creature was resilient. Shaking off the impact, it let out a guttural roar, the sound reverberating through the water like a shock wave. Rocks and sediment shook loose from the nearby coral walls, clouding the area in a haze of silt. "Malik, now!" Kamari shouted, bracing himself as the beast charged again. Malik extended his hand, summoning a radiant orb of light. The glow intensified, illuminating the murky depths in golden brilliance. With a quick motion, Malik hurled the orb toward the beast, the light streaking through the water like a spear. It struck the creature square in the chest, forcing it to stagger back. The beast howled, its red eyes flickering erratically as its bioluminescence dimmed. But instead of retreating, it grew more enraged. It slammed its claws into the ocean floor, creating a shockwave that sent both Kamari and Malik tumbling backward. Kamari gritted his teeth and steadied himself, summoning his energy for another attack. He pressed his palms together, channeling the resonance deep within him. A low hum built in his chest, growing louder and more intense as he prepared to unleash it. But just as he was about to release the sonic burst, a sharp stabbing pain shot through his body. The sound faltered, sputtering into silence. "Kamari!" Malik yelled, his voice tinged with panic. Malik conjured another orb of light, smaller this time, and slashed at the creature with a blade of energy. But just as Kamari's powers had failed, so too did Malik's. The blade fizzled out before it could connect, leaving him defenseless. The creature lunged, its claws grazing Malik's side, as he barely dodged in time. Blood seeped from a shallow wound, staining the water around him. "We have to retreat," Kamari shouted, grabbing Malik by the arm. "We can take it," Malik protested, though his voice lacked conviction. "No, we can't," Kamari snapped, pulling Malik away as the beast prepared to strike again. They swam as fast as they could, weaving through the jagged coral formations to put distance between themselves and the monster. The creature roared behind them, its voice echoing through the water like an ominous drumbeat. Finally, they found a narrow crevice in the coral wall and squeezed through, emerging in a quieter, more secluded area. They pressed their backs against the coral, their breaths ragged as they listened for the beast. Its growls faded into the distance, and after a tense moment, silence returned. Kamari leaned against the wall, his chest heaving as he tried to catch his breath. "What the hell is going on?" he muttered, more to himself than to Malik. Malik winced as he touched the wound on his side, his fingers coming away slick with blood. "Our powers. "They're not working the way they should," he said, his voice strained. "You think I don't know that?" Kamari snapped, his frustration bubbling over. "Do you think I didn't feel it? Something's wrong, Malik. And if we don't figure it out, that thing is going to kill us." Malik's gaze softened, but the tension between them remained palpable. "We'll figure it out," he said quietly. Kamari didn't respond. His mind churned with doubts and questions, not just about their powers, but about everything. He cast a glance at Malik, who was nursing his wound, and a pang of guilt mingled with his frustration. They swam in silence, the weight of their failure and their unspoken grievances hanging heavily between them. As they approached the familiar glow of their home, the realization settled in Kamari's chest like a stone. Their powers weren't the only thing broken. Kamari and Malik's home was a quiet refuge carved into the coral depths, illuminated by the faint bioluminescent glow of surrounding marine life. The soft hum of the ocean, usually soothing, now felt oppressive as they swam through the entrance. Kamari entered first, his long curly hair floating behind him, the glow of his attire dimmed by exhaustion. Malik followed slowly, clutching his side, his breathing labored. Inside, the space felt suffocating. The once comforting warmth of the coral walls now seemed too close, their shared silence heavy with tension. Malik slumped into a chair fashioned from polished sea glass, wincing as he pressed a hand to his wound. Kamari, still standing near the entrance, folded his arms tightly across his chest, his jaw clenched. "We almost died out there," Kamari said, his voice sharp. Malik sighed, leaning back in the chair. "I'm aware, Kamari. You don't have to remind me." "No, I do," Kamari snapped, stepping closer. "Because this, whatever this is, doesn't work anymore. We're not the same. Our powers aren't the same." He gestured broadly, his frustration spilling out. Malik met his gaze, his eyes weary but resolute. "So what are you saying? That we should just give up? On this? On Ocearis? On us?" Kamari's expression faltered for a moment, his eyes darting away before he regained his composure. "I'm saying we need to face facts. Something's broken, and pretending otherwise is going to get us killed." Malik stood, his armor catching the faint light as he moved closer to Kamari. "You think I don't know that? You think I don't feel it every time my light flickers? Every time I can't protect you?" His voice cracked, but he quickly steadied himself. "But walking away won't fix it." Kamari exhaled sharply, turning his back to Malik. "This isn't just about the powers. It's about us, Malik. We broke long before this mission." The words hung in the air like a weight, dragging them both down. Malik reached out hesitantly, his fingers brushing Kamari's shoulder. "I know I messed up," he said softly, the usual strength in his voice replaced by vulnerability. Kamari turned back sharply, his eyes blazing. "Messed up? You didn't just mess up, Malik. You shattered us. Do you even remember why we broke up? Or are you still trying to pretend it didn't happen?" Malik's hand fell back to his side, and he looked away. "Of course I remember." "Then say it," Kamari challenged, stepping closer. For a moment, Malik couldn't meet Kamari's gaze. Then, with a deep breath, he said, "I pushed you too far. I expected too much, and I didn't listen when you told me you needed space." Kamari's expression softened slightly, but the hurt in his eyes remained. "You didn't just push me, Malik. You made me feel like I wasn't enough, like everything I did was a failure, no matter how hard I tried." Malik's shoulders sagged under the weight of Kamari's words. "I never meant to make you feel that way," he said, his voice barely above a whisper. Kamari crossed his arms, his guard still up. "Intent doesn't change what happened, and now we're stuck in this mess, barely holding on, and I can't even trust you to have my back." "That's not fair," Malik said, his tone defensive. "I've always had your back. Always." Kamari scoffed, shaking his head. Then why does it feel like I'm always fighting alone? The room fell into silence, the only sound the faint hum of the ocean outside. Malik stepped closer again, this time more tentative. I don't want to fight with you anymore, he said. I want us to figure this out, together. Before Kamari could respond, Malik leaned in, pressing a soft kiss to his lips. For a brief moment, Kamari froze, caught off guard. But as the kiss deepened, he pulled back abruptly, his expression a mixture of anger and pain. Don't, Kamari said firmly, stepping away. You don't get to do that. Not after everything. Malik opened his mouth to argue, but Kamari cut him off. You can't just kiss me and expect it to fix everything. That's not how this works. Malik's eyes softened, his voice quiet. I wasn't trying to fix anything. I miss you. Kamari shook his head, tears welling in his eyes. Then maybe you should have thought about that before you broke us. With that, Kamari turned and walked away, leaving Malik standing alone in the dimly lit room, the weight of their fractured relationship pressing down on him like the ocean above.
Now we're just strangers again. Ain't even my friend. Not how I want it to end. Can we just pretend?